it's common knowledge in the occult world that like there's elementals, like there's beings that are made of fire and earth and water and air, and they are every bit as alive as we are. They just aren't in human bodies.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today I'm on with Snow, and we're going to be following up our last video with Principle 2 of the 7 Hermetic Principles, which is the law of correspondence. As above, so below.
As within, so without.
Do you want to get us started on this?
Yeah, so the second law of correspondence is equally as important as all 7 Hermetic Principles, but I have a strong love for this one specifically because using it like, you can use it like a tool almost to like understand knowledge, like macrocosmic knowledge, having only being able to study the microcosmic knowledge. Essentially, you can use this to understand the multitude of the multiverse, like in the vastness of it, by only understanding small portions of it.
So basically, like it says here, studying the monad, he understands the archangel, and we found out that monad means like a single atom. So it's saying that by studying the smallest thing in the universe, you can understand the largest thing in the universe.
Yes.
So it literally all corresponds. Like a blade of grass is the same as like the entire universe.
Yes, and yesterday I had a nice experience in my meditations that was allowing me to like feel this intuitively and like subconsciously. I was looking at all the blades of grass. I was in a park with a lot of nature around me, and I was looking at all the blades of grass, and I realized in each and every single blade of grass was the keys to the entire universe that we live in, and each blade of grass contained all the knowledge that ever was and ever will be. And that was a very good model of the second Hermetic principle.
To realize that as a self-realization is like really powerful. I mean, when I went to India, we literally visited a temple that's dedicated to the place where Swami Vivekananda sat in meditation and realized that the microcosm was the same as the macrocosm. And there's literally a temple built just to commemorate him having that realization. So like that's how important that is.
Yeah, I had a thought right before we were actually getting ready to make this. I was thinking like, okay, so as above, so below, and as below, so above. So think like Chicago, for example, like how it's a city and like there's all these people. So like that's like the microcosmic view, like what we experience on a day-to-day basis. But what would the macrocosmic be like? What is there, like just like galactic civilizations made out of planets and stars? And I think that is, yes, that is what it is. And then like we were talking about how like different planes, like when you rise up in the densities of consciousness, how like when you use it for like manifesting, for example, like they're stacked on top of each other and they're opposite of each other. So like when you want to manifest something from like the etheric realm, you think of yourself like already having it, and like that's what brings it to you. I was thinking about how like they built the pyramids of Giza to like match with like Orion's belt. I was thinking like I would think that like our cities are probably structured similarly, and like to represent, so like the 3 pyramids of Giza are representing each star and
Constellation.
Well, specific stars in the constellation. Okay. But they're representing Orion's belt, and so people who study that, archaeologists were saying like the ancient civilizations were building these megalithic structures to synchronize with these like constellations, because then it's like a heaven on earth concept.
That's like the law of correspondence.
Yeah.
Like they're bringing down the energy of the heavens onto Earth through or aligning that. And you're saying maybe even some of our cities might be structured in a similar way where they might align with something. Whether people consciously knew that or it just like energetically like happened that way.
Right, I would think that they do, because that just makes sense. Like, you know, there's like the archetype of like the human imprint on this planet, which is like essentially like we have all this knowledge in our subconscious, like everyone does. Some people are more in tune with it than others, and some people like have more of an understanding of it and are able to apply it in their day-to-day life. So I would assume that like the people who built these cities had some knowledge of it. At least someone did.
Yeah.
If not, that's kind of sad.
Even like in that ancient civilizations, he was saying even some of our movies and stuff display like these mythic themes and stuff and old things that happened in like ancient Sumeria because they're like in our subconscious and they come out like that way.
Yeah, just like the archetype. Like, like that's what they said. Understanding the monad is the same as understanding an archangel. But like, that's because it's not only is that true and relative and relevant to each individual's human experience, but to be able to understand the vastness of our reality, you only need to understand the smallest portion of it, and that's what this principle is all about.
And that's why you can find out the whole universe through looking inside yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole universe is held within you in the sense of like the practice we do with the tree of life, meditation, magical practices, because it's like the tree of life is all within you.
Yeah, it's like everything's just like one part of a giant tesseract, like just like one giant torus, like everything. Like there's like, remember when I was telling you like I understand like quantum physics and quantum leaping, because essentially like everything has its own torus field and a multitude of densities, like a bunch of things vibrating at the same frequency. Like if you synchronize your torus field with like anything else, like that creates like a wormhole. Like if someone in a parallel dimension was vibrating at the same exact frequency as I was at the same exact time in the same exact space, I would think they would be the same thing, just in different places, which would essentially create like a wormhole, which I think is what happens when you're doing past life regressions and shit.
Gotcha. So there's like, so not only is there galactic, like on that level of correspondence, but also there's like universes, I think, within atoms and within cells and within dirt. Like I remember going to one of the museums in Chicago, and they said within one scoop of dirt at the Field Museum, there's more life forms than people on the entire Earth in one scoop of dirt. So it's almost like, and even like inside of a human body, the trillions of different cells functioning and fighting and building, and like it's like they're living their own life. There's almost a whole universe like going on inside of us.
Yeah, I would say.
And how sentient are they? Like, are they just on a smaller level thinking that they're living just like we feel as if we're living here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I almost wonder where the emotional aspect comes in. Like what even are emotions, and like do these macrocosmic beings that exist, do they have emotions? Are there emotions like at a macrocosmic level, like how, like I love my dog, you know, like, and I feel strong love for my dog and my son. So like these macrocosmic deities that are, I would imagine, are so gigantic, like we don't even perceive them. Essentially, like what I'm saying is, like, think about our cells and how they're in our body. We don't see them, and they don't see us.
So the body of the universe, like we're all in the universe, but what would, if the universe is a sentient being, what is it?
Right, like
Feeling?
we're like the cells in the universe, but it doesn't stop there. Like it continues to go forward. Like so, whatever body that our life, like we're the cells in this gigantic body. That gigantic body is part of another cluster of gigantic bodies and like a super gigantic body, and I don't think there's like an end to it. I think it just keeps getting bigger. Infinity has no end or beginning.
The constellations, like we had talked about, are probably their own bodies, and that's how they're grouped as a constellation. Is like that's a being into itself, probably.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Like the stars are like represent like deities, like the angels and gods are like the stars. That's where all of our knowledge comes from. Is from the stars.
Stars and doing high magic, and like in the Bible, they use the angels and the stars like interchangeably.
Right.
Because there's like they are that.
Right. So like leads me to believe that these stars are somehow like sentient beings, like with their own thoughts and agendas and capacity for cognitive thinking.
I believe they are in Sumeria they call Shamash the sun god, but in Hinduism they call the sun god Surya. But like it's well known that the sun is perceived, our sun is perceived to be a male deity, and even Hanuman, the monkey god, it's said that the sun is his guru, and then it says he's guru brothers with, I believe, Saturn, because it says that Saturn's guru is also the sun, which leads to believe that line of thought that they would all be sentient beings. That Saturn would be a being whose guru is the sun.
Well, we know for a fact that Earth is alive
Yes.
in every sense of the word. Like,
Yes.
Earth represents life would be a better way to say it. Like, how silly are we to think, like, oh, four-leaf clover has all this life in it, but the planet that it grows from is less. Like,
And obviously all those other gas giant planets are alive too, because they're moving in, like Jupiter and Saturn. The only ones that you could think maybe could be a dead planet would be maybe like Mars or something. Could be a dead planet, or just could be a planet that's
A
severely
weak
been
planet,
damaged.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's weak.
I would have to say, like, I don't see why Earth would be alive and why the sun wouldn't be. That's when you have to start, like, thinking about life in different terms. Like, think about life in reality's terms and not on humans' terms, you know? Like, they're, like, with all the knowledge that we've acquired through science and occult sciences, it's common knowledge in the occult world that, like, there's elementals, like, there's beings that are made of fire and earth and water and air, and they are every bit as alive as we are. They just aren't in human bodies.
Yeah.
That's, like, something that I think the second law promotes, is, like, being able to think outside of the parameters of in the boundaries of being human, which all the 7 Hermetic principles I think promote that, but like the second one really does, because as above, so below. And so if I'm here, there's another bigger thing that is every bit as alive as I am above us, for lack of better words. I don't think it necessarily means above us particularly. I think it just means like in the sky, like in the space, like above Earth, you know, in the heavens.
In the heaven. So there's like, yeah, but then there's really no separation between anything except that it seems to be between time and space. So that's also part of the law of correspondence, is because there's really no difference between anything.
Right. Yeah.
There is, but ultimately there isn't.
It's really just like holographic in nature. However, like, it's really just different vibrational frequencies, but really everything is all the same.
Yeah, and yes, it's all the same. It's all the same.
Oh, rhythm. It was rhythm. That was the one. Because remember, it was like, and they were like, holy fuck, we're all just like we're just like a note on a giant rhythm.
Like giant rhythm of energy moving in and out, which you guys can't see our hands, but then there's like bigger levels of energy.
Yeah.
And like with new, like the Aquarian age coming in, like you had said, like when a new age comes, that's like a new giant rhythm of energy like coming in, and that's why each age is different.
Yeah.
And that's why each person is like different based when like their karma determines what zodiac sign they're like born into. Like in a book I was just reading, this guy said like 30 years later when he was in his 50s, he got a zodiac reading, and they were like, for the first 20 years of your life you were under a materialistic sway from the planet of Venus, and it went away when you were 20. And it was crazy because he got initiated by Anandamaya Ma into his spiritual tradition right on his 20th birthday.
Wow.
And then 30 years later, somebody reading his birth chart could determine that. So it's just,
wow.
Yeah. So it's like that correlates everything.
Yeah, like the stars are like so important for the studies of who we are, how we came to be here, and where we're going. The stars have all the knowledge, which is the perfect example of the law of correspondence, but also not to be taken lightly. Like, it goes much bigger than that. That's like literally like the next level you can really look at, like besides like what's here on earth, like that's like the second thing you look to, but it goes far beyond that.
Yeah.
Infinity has no bounds.
And that quote that we like from Rumi where he says, look at the sun, nothing in this whole world is as strange as the sun, which is true. That's why it's the stars. Like, nothing in this whole world is as strange as the stars. He says, how much more so the sun of the soul, it has no yesterday. So he's saying, however wild the sun is, the soul is beyond even that, because it's beyond even time and space. It has no yesterday. Thank you for tuning in with me and Snow on our second video of the 7 Hermetic principles, the principle of the law of correspondence. For more info on these principles, you can purchase the Kabbalion on Hermetic philosophy, really anywhere you can find books, on Amazon or any other place. And we'll be back soon with Hermetic principle number 3. Thank you.